Bet you didn't hear about this story.
12 people have been killed in a mass shooting in the southeastern European country of Montenegro, including the gunman and 2 children. Police say the attacker is a 34-year-old man who used a hunting rifle to first shoot the children, aged 8 and 11, and their mother. It's believed they lived as tenants in the house. The man then walked into the street to shoot people at random. At least 6 others have been injured.
So one thing about this story is that it was actually stopped. This actual shooting was actually stopped by somebody who was a citizen with their own firearms. The police didn't stop this. The government didn't stop this. This was a regular person who was a passerby who used their firearm to stop this person. But nobody really harks on that. None of those news stories really talk about it very much. Because as far as I know, and as far as my experience tells me, especially with dealing with the media here in the US, they don't want to embolden or empower people to utilize firearms to protect themselves. The government doesn't want its citizens being empowered to defend themselves. The government doesn't want citizens being empowered to deal with situations like this because it makes them useless. And if you're in the business of amassing as much control as you want, you don't want the people you're trying to gain control over to feel like they can take care of themselves, because then they don't need you. That's why a vast majority of people in government are anti-gun. Their job is to consolidate power within themselves. And if you don't need them, they can't do that or convince you to put your power in their hands. Or better yet, to put your safety in their hands. Because if I'm defending myself and protecting myself, are you actually keeping me safe? And the interesting thing about this too is there was a police officer who arrived on the scene and he was actually shot and he was wounded. And it was a citizen who ended up stopping it, not the police officer. Cops aren't superhumans. They're people just like us. They're in a position of authority and in a slightly better position, to deal with certain threats because they have the numbers, they have the guns, they have the equipment, so forth and so on. But it's not always the case that they're going to be able to do something about it. And sometimes the citizens actually have to come in and rescue the cops. And I don't see that as a bad thing. I think the relationship between citizens and the police should be symbiotic. They should be working together. Cops should be looking to citizens and say, hey, go out and get firearm training, get a gun, and learn to protect yourself, because I, as a cop, even though I'm going to do my best to get there, I won't always be able to get there in time. And honestly, I do know a lot of cops who actually feel this way and actually tell people who are victims of crimes this very thing. But the media won't talk about that. The overarching government officials won't talk about that. This guy killed 11 people with a hunting rifle. So let's fast forward. Let's say we do get an assault weapons ban and they take away the AR-15s. What do you think would happen if there was another shooting with somebody in America who used a hunting rifle to kill 11 people? You think the government's just going to say, well, you guys were right. Here's your AR-15s back. Use those to protect yourself because what we did didn't work. No, they're just going to engage in further restrictions. That's what they do. That's what the government does. If one thing doesn't work, here, give me more power and I'll try to make it work again. If that doesn't work, give me more power, I'll try to make it work again. And by giving them more power, what I'm referring to is allowing them to pass laws that restrict your ability to protect yourself. You position yourself in a situation where people don't have the ability to fight back, you're going to kill a lot of people, regardless of what gun you use. That's how that works. It's not because the AR-15 is just this megalomaniacal machinery that just kills 1,000 people with one pull of the trigger. That's not how that works. A lot of these types of situations, these shootings and things like that, they are underreported in other countries. People forget that we live in America. We are one of the freest societies in this world. So we have a freedom of the press and freedom of information here to a degree that the vast majority of people around the world get to see our dirt because we don't hide it. It's live in 4K for everyone to see. But a lot of these countries, these other countries, they don't report on the stuff that goes on in their countries. They don't report on the crime and the issues that they have in their countries to the degree that we do here in America. So of course it's going to look like America is so much worse than everybody else when the same things are happening in other places. I did a podcast that I'm going to be putting up soon with a guy who used to be a police officer in the UK. And he says it himself. The same things that are happening in America are happening in the UK. So put yourself in the best position to protect yourself in the event the unthinkable happens, because sometimes it does. And the best way to do that is to get a gun, get firearm training, learn gun safety, and use your firearm to protect yourself whenever you need to. Because at the end of the day, you are the only person you can rely on when it comes to protecting yourself. And it's honestly not that hard. It's really not. I've said it before. You don't have to be John Wick in order to be able to defend yourself effectively with a firearm. Take a couple of training courses and you'd be good to go. And then from a concealed carry standpoint, you just keep the gun on you. It's not living a life of paranoia, as some people like to call it. I take my keys, I take my wallet, I take my gun, and I put it on, and I go about my day. If something happens and arises, oh great, I have my gun to deal with it. Nothing happens, I come home, I take off my keys, I take off my wallet, I take off my guns, I put it up. Wash, rinse, and repeat. And so I'm gonna leave you with this. Right now, it is too easy. It's way too easy to get information and knowledge as a firearm owner. It's never been easier, especially when you have things like USCCA. Getting USCCA membership gives you access to so much information, so much training, but then on top of that, you also get the added comfort of knowing that you have self-defense insurance from a monetary standpoint if you ever did have to use your firearm in self-defense. It's all right there, aggregated right there for you to do. You don't really have to think about it as much. Consume the information, get the training, and then you have the backup, then you have the protection of concealed carry insurance as well. You can't really beat that. So there's really honestly no excuse. Take your safety into your own hands. The cops will do their best to be there, but they can't always be there. So at best, they're support. But you're on the front line of that. Whether you like it or not, you can't duck your head in sand and hope that it goes away. That's just the responsibility that we have as citizens in this world, not just this country, this world. So take it seriously. For anyone who wants to learn more information about USCCA, I'll put a link in the description section. Of course, we got the I Will Not Comply hats. We also have the If You Know, You Know Second Amendment shirts for those people who don't know the Second Amendment but think they do. But yeah, people, take your safety seriously. It's important. You know how frightening it is to think about what happens in the moments before, during, and even days after having to use your gun in self-defense? When you first start carrying a gun for protection, it can be a very scary and nerve-wracking experience, especially if you haven't gotten the education and training you need to feel confident. I've been there myself, hoping I never have to go through a self-defense shooting, which is why I'm a member of the USCCA. As a USCCA member, you can eliminate some of the stress of carrying a gun for protection by accessing the amazing wealth of firearm education, training, and current state-specific gun laws of your state or states you may travel to. This can help you be prepared for or hopefully even avoid a self-defense incident. As a bonus, members automatically become insured on the self-defense liability insurance policy purchased by and issued to the USCCA. Click below to learn more. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm is going to do a phenomenal job of suppressing this message. So please share this video with as many people as you can so we can beat the algorithm and get our two-way message out to the masses. Also, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment and hit the bell and subscribe button.